Last time on Papa's Home. My plumber gave me an estimate of $2,600 to fix my sprinklers. So far on this project, I decided to take on a lot of the work myself. However, I still have to pay for parts. That means that so far I've spent $400 building the manifold, $170 renting the trencher, $135 on the ground hydrant, $150 on the electrical work, about $35 worth of gravel, and another $100 to get the gardeners to dig out the square. Bringing my total cost for this project so far just under $1,000. I'm really curious to see what the plumber's going to charge me for the remainder of the work. I really hope I end up saving myself money in the long run. Otherwise, this was a lot of work. So in today's episode, we're going to wire up the sprinklers, we're going to set up the controller, and then I'm going to point out all the things that went wrong. But we're going to get started with connecting the wires. Each sprinkler valve has 2 wires, and they're bundled up like this. The next cable is from my electrician. And this is what's going to connect my sprinkler valves to my sprinkler controller. That'll let me control the sprinklers from my phone, and even set up a schedule. I'll talk about this easy to set up device in a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is buy 250 wire nuts from the store. You might be thinking that's totally insane.
I'll take a pound of nuts. That's a lot of nuts!
But I promise it's super cheap.
That'll be $4, baby! You want fries with that?
So the next thing I'm going to do is take my automatic wire strippers to remove the sheathing around the wires. You'll notice that each cable is a different color. That'll be important for the next step. Remember earlier when I talked about my sprinkler valves? Each one has 2 wires. Right now I want to take 1 wire from each one and connect it to the white wire. This is going to be used for the common wire. Meanwhile, back at the controller, we're going to take the white wire and plug it in anywhere with the letter C. After I make a few more connections, a lot of this should make more sense. Then I repeat this process. But what I do is I take some of the colored wires and start plugging them in. For this first round, it really doesn't matter what order I put it in. I could put yellow in 9 or red in 12. It doesn't matter. But the order that I went with was red, blue, green, yellow. The order is important. And that'll make more sense in the next step. Now what we're going to do is connect each colored wire to 1 valve. And what I'm going to do is put it in the same order as before. So from left to right, it'll be red, blue, green, yellow. Really all I'm trying to get here is consistency. To finish up the work with the wires, I'm going to fold them nicely so it's easy to access next time. Then I snap in the faceplate and we're done with the wiring. Now to test out the system. So the first test is on the garden beds, and for the most part everything's looking pretty good. But when I looked at this area, I could tell that a few of the sprinkler heads popped off. It took me a little bit of time to find them, but I was able to snap them back in after I lowered the pressure. However, I had lots of problems with my front lawn, and it had to do with my water pressure. I finally got to a point where I had to call a sprinkler repair company. I kept going back and forth on the idea, knowing that I put so much work into this and I was trying to save money, but afterward they caught so many problems. So here's problem number 1. I tried to connect a 1-inch line to 2 3/4 inch lines. Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough flow. In the end, we had to run a second line. To be fair, that's how it was originally, but I thought I could just connect a bigger pipe and combine the two. This last pipe that I'm moving around is a last-minute add. I'm thinking that I could eventually turn this into a drip line for the front. This might be a place for a new garden bed, and maybe some pumpkins around Halloween. But now I'm getting distracted. The second problem was this. The sprinkler company also found that one of the lines in the front was cracked. I don't think I ever would have found this piece, so I'm super glad that someone else did. The third problem was with my sprinkler heads. They found out that 4 of them were totally busted and needed to be replaced. There was also a few areas where they changed the angle. Now the angles are set in a way so that they're not watering the fruit trees. I've already got a dedicated water line to those, and I don't want any more water to be wasted. And all of this, of course, sent me back $638. I was only planning to work on the manifold. I wasn't really prepared to fix the rest of the lawn. The plumber also charged me $300 to finish digging out the trench. At this point, I'm not sure I even saved any money, and the plumber still has to connect the manifold to the water supply line. But so far, I've spent $1,950. There's no way I'm going to save money at this point. I had no idea the sprinklers were busted in the front, and that set me way behind. And after the plumber connected the water supply line and the house hydrant, the total cost came to $1,700. It might seem extremely high to you, but let me explain. Right here, this is my old water main. We recently replaced it, and now he's got some weird setup, and it was just super confusing for me to figure out how to connect it at all. I have plans for a future project where a lot of this becomes easier, but I really wanted to make sure my garden and lawn were taken care of, so I paid quite a bit just to make sure everything stays green. So in case you haven't done the math, the grand total of everything so far is a little under $3,700. I did not save money. I discovered so many issues, and I think in the next episode I actually want to do a retrospective and kind of point out the areas where I definitely saved money and the other areas where I did not save money at all. So to kind of recap this episode, we connected the electrical cables to the manifold, then we connected those same cables to the controller, then we ran some tests and found out that a lot of the sprinklers were broken, which cost me another $650. And once everything was all said and done, the total cost was $3,700, and I lost money. The last thing I want to go over is the sprinkler controller. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't really do this justice. I kind of had to take a lot of screenshots with my phone, but hopefully you'll kind of get the idea. This device is called Rachio. It's really cool. I got a rebate through my city, so I ended up getting it about 50% off. I think it was about $150 in the end. But all I had to do is connect these wires, download an app, and at that point, I can start naming each of the zones, setting up my watering schedule. It's smart enough to know that when it rains, not to water the plants. And it just makes like the whole process very easy. The reason I swapped it out for this one, I just couldn't figure out how my old one worked. You know, you open the latch and all you see is a bunch of buttons, numbers, and a giant dial. Really not user friendly. I absolutely love this app. Can't recommend it enough, and I promise the setup for that device is really easy, as long as you have the wires nearby to connect it. So if anything, I hope this video inspired you to do some of the work yourself. My case was a little bit extreme, but maybe you can set up your own sprinkler controller yourself now, in case you're swapping out an old one for a new one. I'm also trying a new format. I set up my Patreon, though I still don't exactly know how to use it. A lot of these videos are expensive to make, mostly because the projects by nature are expensive. So if you want to contribute, I'll put the link down below. If you have any feedback on how this video could be better, or future videos, if you want me to go like more in detail, if I skipped over something too quickly, let me know. I'd be really interested to see what questions you have. I don't consider myself a professional, but if there's other professionals in here, I really encourage you to weigh in and kind of help foster this little community that I want to build. With that, I'll see you all next time at Papa's Home.